number. If you were out at that game yesterday, I know there were 40,000 fans at Oracle Park.
Memorial Day.
What stuck out, and what has stuck out for you if you've been watching this Giants team all year, and what's changed? What has changed in the last 2 weeks for the San Francisco Giants? 888-957-9570. What do you think has been the single biggest difference in the last 2 weeks? I'm going to ask Evan that, and I'm going to ask Goo that.
Okay.
I think, to me, the biggest change has been Chapman. I mean, Chapman is starting to hit right now. He was hitting in Pittsburgh, and the Giants just hadn't had a guy in the middle of the lineup who's producing like a guy in the middle of the lineup should. And Matt Chapman got off to a slow start, but his fielding's been there all year for the most part, and now he's hitting, and the Giants have a new dimension. That to me has been the biggest difference in the San Francisco Giants, let's say the first month of the season through the, let's say, last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. I'm not mad at that.
What about you, Goo?
I'm going to say their ability to come back in the late innings and have that leadoff hitter or hitter after the leadoff hitter get on base. And I feel like you could say it's, a short sample size, but I feel like they know now they're never out of a game. And Friday night against the Mets, you come up Saturday, you're down a run, and that first leadoff hitter gets on. And to me, I think that translates through the clubhouse. And I feel like the Giants, again, you don't want to be behind, but the reality is you will be at times, but it's your approach. And their approach in pressure situations at the plate, to me, Steiny, have me feeling some type of way about this team. And that's Lamont Wade Jr., that's Matos, that's Ramos, that's Wilmer Flores, who got a big hit against the Mets in the ninth inning the other day. So that, to me, has been, outside of Chapman, a part of the change I like. Because when you watch a baseball team that's kind of floundering and it's just dead men walking and they're down 1 or 2 runs late, you kind of feel like it's over. You retired the first batter, nothing to see here. But the Giants are like, they just battle, and I'm here for it. And when they're down, Steiny, now, I feel like, it's not over until that 27th out is recorded.
What's been the one thing you think that's been a big change with the Giants?
Well, it has to do with the offense, but it's strike zone discipline. Like, they have put together, and they do put together successive quality at-bats a lot more than they did the first 45 games. Like, if you look at the last couple of weeks, the amount of walks that they have is skyrocketed. The amount of times they strike out has just fallen off the table. Like, they're bottom 3 in the league in terms of strikeout rate. So they walk more, they strike out less, they hit the ball with authority. I think it just goes to show, like, whatever their approach was the first 45 games might not have been the wrong one. They just weren't necessarily executing. So I think their strike zone discipline has been what stood out to me offensively, and I think it's probably embodied or symbolized in someone like Matt Chapman, but everyone as a whole has been a lot better at not swinging at bad pitches and then doing damage on pitches inside the zone.
That's a good call. Can we give a hat tip to Pat Burrell for that?
No.
Well, but I think if you're going to tip your cap to him now, you also have to recognize that, like, this isn't something that they've all of a sudden just shifted. Like you don't have a philosophical change 40 games in just because you're not hitting very well. If anything, it's like, no, guys, our process is good. We're just going to stick to it, and eventually we'll come out of it because they have. I mean, they're hitting like 300 the last 3 weeks.
Giants.
888-957-9570 is the number. San Francisco Giants have turned their season around. There's no doubt about it. Last 2 weeks, they've won 9 of their last 11 games. They beat the Phillies. They went back east, took care of Pittsburgh, and took care of the Mets, won 4 out of 6 of those games to come back here with a little momentum. And now we'll see if they can continue after yesterday's 8-4 win. It was another game, Goo, where they were down 4-3.
After being up 3-0, I'm thinking it's over.
Exactly.
I know you watched a lot of baseball, Steiny, but I got to take it back to this East Coast trip. Friday, after the 2 just miraculous comebacks against the Pirates, Have you seen a game in the way Friday in New York ended with Matt Chapman's great play defensively to fill the ball with one hand and just throw a rope to end it that way, Steiny?
It was a great play.
And Flynn, an incredible call. Great play. Just like, damn, it's going good.
I mean,
Steiny, like, damn.
Yeah, The question is, can they keep this thing going when Conforto comes back and when Ahmed comes back and when Slater comes back? I mean, if you're a San Francisco Giants fan, it feels to me like most of the fans are just ready to let Ramos, Matos, and Luciano play. And I understand that sentiment, but I don't necessarily know if that's the best way for the San Francisco Giants to be successful. Because even though
I'm all ears.
I mean, they're young. They're all hitting right now, but can you expect them to do that all season long?
Yeah, and you know what?
I mean, I don't think you can. I think if you make a commitment to the younger players like that, and Ramos and Matos and Luciano, and now maybe even Wisely, if they're going to play most of the time, you might not be as good as if the veterans are playing. And that's what Bob Melvin's going to have to decide.
Yeah.
But I think Goo, this is the part that I think Giants fans, may have an issue with, is they have to make the playoffs. That seems to be a monster priority for them. And if they have to make the playoffs, it's just like the Golden State Warriors. I think the Giants are going to lean on their veterans. And Conforto's going to come back and he's going to play.
And he should play. But again, you talk about the leader of the ship right now, and that's Bo Mail. So, Steiny, I don't know what's said behind closed doors, but I would imagine, it's about the name in the front of the jersey, not the back. And you talk about the success from the young, the Matos, Ramos, and Luciano. But, Steiny, they don't have the, I'm not looking what word, not pedigree, but I'm sure Melvin is not scared to sit them down, one of them, and say, hey, maybe your playing time is going to be cut in half or whatnot. They should be able to take that in stride. And you are right. This is a 162-game season. Slumps do happen, but there's got to be a fine balance of, when you play this Giant team, all depending on matchups and what the computers say, that'll go a long way in regard to who's out there. And that's why I just hate Luciano from this standpoint, didn't take advantage defensively of Ahmed being out, because now you're like, if we do start you, maybe we got to have a defensive replacement, late in the game. That's not good for Luciano to kind of take the job by the horns and you forget about Ahmed. But I guess it's not about that. It's, it's a fine balance, Donnie, and Bo Mail's job is to gauge who's on, who's hot, and who will play more.
I mean, I just don't see Luciano playing shortstop in a one-run game in the last 2 or 3 innings.
I'm with you on that.
I mean, that's the one thing I just don't think you can have. And the pickle the Giants are going to be in is Farhan Zaidi's got to make the postseason. And I don't think there's any doubt about that. This is his 7th year. This is his 7th year, and they've gone to the postseason one time, and they've won no series in Farhan Zaidi's tenure. So it's do or die right now. They've got to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if you're a team that's got to make the playoffs, how do you justify keeping Luciano in the field, playing shortstop, and kind of living and dying with a guy who, I mean, it's obvious he's just not a good fielder. He's not a good fielder at shortstop, and he's not going to get a lot better anytime soon. So what do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do? How do you play him, and what's the strategy with him there?
Yeah, and you kind of wonder, Steiny, had they seen him every day for a couple years in Sacramento, if short was a problem, maybe you get him, you find another position for him. But right now, Major League Baseball, these games the Giants are playing are not tryouts. So, again, they got lucky. When was it? Saturday against he missed a Estrada tried to pitch the ball to him. Something I didn't even know who to blame, but it was a blunder, and I'm like, oh boy, didn't come back to bite him. But you know what? There's old saying, Steiny, all this will play itself out. And I do wonder, and I have to say it, because you keep reminding me of where I was, and I'll say it and admit it 2 weeks ago with this team, I think this is a good problem. The more options you have, that's a good problem.
Do we know why, and maybe Evan does, do we know why the Giants are so hell-bent on keeping Luciano at shortstop? I mean,
well, you never want to give up on a guy until you absolutely have to.
I'm just talking about the position shortstop. It just feels like the Giants, they've announced that Luciano needs to improve his fielding. And so, it feels like that's the question that a lot of people are asking is if Luciano can't field his position at short, why don't you move him?
Yeah.
How far away are we from that?
And don't remember
what other positions can he play?
Don't forget me telling Willard and Dibbs during the crossover, Steiny, as well as yourself and Evan. I thought Luciano was going to be. I thought he had the job coming out of spring training. Brandon Crawford era was over, but now I guess I see why they didn't go with Luciano out the gate to start the season, and they went and got a veteran like Ahmed. Like, you're right. Now, Solaire's he's a bopper, Steiny. So, the DH has his name on it, but man, you kind of wish you could stash Luciano there sometimes in the DH role, and you wouldn't have to. That would alleviate where do you put him in the field if you're nervous about him playing shortstop late in games.
Yeah. 888-957-9570 is the number. The San Francisco Giants, they play the Phillies again tonight. Zach Wheeler will be on the mound for Philadelphia. Giants haven't announced the starter, but it'll probably be a reliever.
It's going to be Eric Miller. Oh, Eric Miller will be starting tonight for the San Francisco Giants.
Okay, Eric Miller on the mound against Zach Wheeler. By the way, I was reading Baggerly, and there's been some talk about Oracle Park and the dangers of center field with the chain link fence. Have you seen that?
I missed that.
Well, Jung-Hoo Lee got hurt.
Out for the year.
On the chain link fence. And then Matos.
A couple times.
Matos has gone down a couple times with that chain link fence out there. And somebody asked Andy Baggerly a question about whether the Giants are, looking at that. Mm-hmm. And he said they are, but it's not a quote-unquote action item. But they got to figure something out, because if they just put a regular wall there, then the bullpen can't see the game. And so they got to figure that out. But,
I'll take that over my center fielder getting hurt, starting center fielder for the year.
How many stadiums have a chain link fence somewhere in the outfield?
But, Steiny, how long has it been there for us now to, obviously, losing Jung-Hoo Lee, but you know what I'm saying? It hadn't been a lot of accidents on that street up until this season.
No. But last couple weeks, there have been some plays that have made you hold your breath if you're a Giants fan, for sure.
Yeah. No, I was just saying somebody giving me some love. I don't want it. I don't deserve it. But I said this Giant team coming out, Steiny, would make the wild card. But now I'm just excited about that. And I got to be careful here. I don't want to take that for granted, but those are the least of my expectations. If Snell can get his groove back, and you got Cobb down the road whenever he can come back, and Robbie Ray, you just envision if the youngsters can do their part and things keep the same. Lamont Wade Jr., let's say he avoids the IL.
Well, he's not gonna. He's gonna go on it, according to Baggerly.
But he might be their lone all-star if he comes. Let's just say he comes back and keeps up what he's doing.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of left-handed bats, so they're gonna miss his bat. What's he hitting, about 330? Among the leaders in on-base percentage.
And the gloves, Steiny. Those on the other, we're talking about Chapman, but those scoops by Lamont Wade Jr. have been incredible too.
And it wasn't long ago that everybody was down on Yaz.
Man, good call.
Everybody was sick of Yaz. And now he's hitting a little bit better, and he's still playing a solid outfield for the San Francisco Giants. And the question is, in these last 11 games, what have you seen in the San Francisco Giants that's really given you some optimism?
I got one more for you, Steiny.
Okay, go ahead.
Patrick Bailey's ability to throw your ass out. He threw a runner out against the Mets, Steiny, and the ball must have been in his hands a millisecond. Now, I know there were a couple games where like, where's the ball going when he was trying to throw runners out, but he's got past that. But do you know how big that is we're the home of Buster Posey, so we've seen the catcher position at his finest. But he'll throw your ass out late in games, Steiny. And, I mean, that's just another facet defensively to this team that they got something going for them, too. You can't – and I know pitchers, a lot of stolen bases are on the pitcher, and Webb's been having a little bit of a problem with it. But, I mean, Patrick Bailey has been something to write home about behind the plate throwing guys out.